Hey guys, we're back and we're going to look at installing the stab. So looks like they have some tape on here to keep this little piece here in place. So you'll just want to remove it and some good tape. My fingers are sore. Use a X-Acto blade or something. Be careful not to cut your plane. Okay, once that's out of the way, this block will come out. Just set that to the side. You'll want to glue that back in later. So here we have the stab. Make sure you have it the right way, which honestly, whatever color plane you have, just make sure it matches. You just want to slide that in. Sorry, I got marks on here. I don't think you can really mess this step up. Just make sure it's pushed all the way in. And once it's all the way in, your elevator should clear perfectly up and down. And you'll just want to glue this in however you want to do it. I'm just kind of test fitting mine right now. And then it said put the block. The block goes back in right here to the back corner, like that. And you definitely got to put this in, guys, before you install your rudder. You won't be able to do it afterwards. So I'm going to mix up some epoxy, and I'm going to just put some epoxy on the inside of the balsa wood. Like on this piece here, I'll put some here, and on the bottom probably, maybe even on the airplane itself. I mean, this thing is tight already without even being glued, so definitely the thing I'm going to stick some glue all the way down inside of here, on both sides, and on the front here, and maybe some right here on the inside. I'm going to stick it in there, and then I'm going to set that to the side and let that be drying. So, yeah. I'm going to do that off camera. So probably the next time you see this, this will be all glued in place and all. And after you do that one, you'll want to grab the rudder. I'm also, while I'm gluing that, I'm going to go ahead and glue these pins in the rudder itself. When you're doing them, you just want to make sure you get them pushed all the way in. That way you have a nice gap. Won't have too big of a gap, that is. And again, you just line up all the holes as you go, kind of slide them all in. You want to test fit this, and so that don't look bad there. See if you can see that. You definitely don't want much of a gap, guys. You want it to be able to go all the way over both ways to your elevator for full deflection. So yeah, man, that green looks so good. So the next time you see it, it will probably be the rudder, and the stab will probably be already glued on. So alright guys, thanks for watching. Okay guys, also another thing to do with your stab and your rudder both before you actually install them, at least, I mean, you can do it either way you want to, but I would go ahead and put your control horns at least on each service. So grab the bag that's marked for each one. This one says elevator here, so it has the elevator control rod, push rod, all your little bolts, nuts, linkages, ball links, everything's going to be in this one little package. There's your control horn right there. What you want to do, I got to grab my my file or piece of sandpaper. You will just slightly sand this down before you stick it in here. But the elevator one was easy to find. I hope you can see it here on camera. It's right here is the slot. So, and when you do this, you also want to make sure you're definitely sticking it in the correct way. And this feels like you actually need to be cut out a little bit. Sometimes from factory, they might not be totally cut all the way, and this one definitely is not fitting. So I'm going to have to grab my blade, and I'm going to have to do a little cutting. Well, my knife fits in it well, but this doesn't fit in it well, so that's kind of funny. It might just be the width of it. So yeah. Sorry guys, I thought I had everything I needed on site, but everything is close by, luckily. I just gotta remember where I stuck stuff. So yeah, I probably have a piece of sandpaper somewhere, but you can also use old trusty file. I keep this one in my hobby room just for occasions like this. But just stay below where it's going to go. It's got a notch right here. Stay below it. You want to stay right here. And just lightly scuff it up. It's really all we're doing is we just want to scuff it up where it will fit. And the glue will adhere to the surface. I don't really know if this is carbon fiber or if it's just like G10. They call it the plain Kevlar, so it's probably more like a G10, but you just want to lightly sand it off, make it go from that real bright color black that it is to like a dull color. I'll tell you, you got it good. And again, you just want to stick it in the slot. Pre-fit it in your slot, guys. Make sure it will fit. Mine still feels tight for some reason. It's like they didn't cut out quite enough wood for it. Be careful not to go all the way through to the other side also. Dang it. I've never had one this tight. So it's halfway in there. But you see it's not flush at all. But you shouldn't see that hole. And then you want this part to be flush with it. But that's the way it goes. I'm going to play with it off camera. I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. So, and as you see with it there, full perfection, it's going to be way away from the elevator. So once I have all of this finished, I'll come back probably with pictures or maybe just an updated video to show you how everything looked when it's totally final. Thanks for watching. Okay guys, so luckily as soon as I clicked off the camera, I just pushed it, pulled it some, and I finally got it to go in. It kind of snapped right in place. So again, as you can see with it full deflection, it's got about 1/8 of an inch maybe. But so that's just in place. I got to pull it back out and epoxy it, but I'm trying to get everything prepared that needs to be epoxied so I can do it all at one time. Got my mixing cup here, got my epoxy here, and got my sticks for mixing. So yeah. So next I'm going to find the rudder. So far looking on the rudder, I cannot find a slit anywhere. There's got to be a slit somewhere in this area for the rudder control arm, but I can't see it. So before I move on to that though, I'm going to take my linkages here. I'm going to grab my ball link pliers, and I'm going to go ahead and build. And grab your rod, grab your linkages, and just go ahead and start threading them on. One way it's probably going to go on one way, and the other way it's probably going to be backwards. That's how I did most of the time. Actually, I wasn't thinking about this step either. I would have already had my ball link pliers. If you don't have any of these are very handy. They make different kinds, but they're made for helicopter pilots. We definitely can't live without them. But the cool thing is they got two rounded edges, one big and one small. And you can just stick, that one's too big for that hole, but you got a small hole. You can grip onto that and you can screw the linkages on without the rod turning. Now you can do the same thing with a pair of needle nose or a regular pair of pliers or whatever your favorite tool might be. But the thing is about those, you're going to probably put a flat spot on the rod. So these are just really handy to have, and they work very good for multiple things. And guys, actually I was incorrect. So these don't have any kind of adjustments on them. You actually have to take the whole linkage off the control and put it back on. So these actually thread holding it the same direction. Now, without a manual, I have no idea how long to make this. So it's going to be just an estimate. So for now, I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just going to, and if you look at these, they're kind of different. They're flat on one side and round on the ball end. So I'm guessing the flat end goes towards the servo horn or the control rod, and the other end sticks out. And you should be able to pop these on and off. Again, if you got ball length pliers, these might be too big for this, but normally you grip it behind like that, and then they pop out. I don't want to do it because I don't want to lose it, and they're pretty hard to pop back in when they're not attached. But there's your first linkage. I'm going to go ahead and run my screw in mine and put the nut, the washer. You have a washer. Make sure you don't forget the washer. It's small, but put the control horn on, then put your washer on, and then put your lock nut. And these are lock nuts, or nylon nuts as people call them. It's going to be very hard to tell on camera, but they have a little plastic like ring inside of them. I mean, do not use Loctite with these. If you do, you're just going to mess up the nylon inside of the nut, and it will actually cause it to unthread itself and inflate. That would be very bad. So now that I have this completely built, both nuts, screw, washer on it, I'm actually going to stick it back in my elevator bag. So I remember this one is made for my elevator, because I do not know if these linkages are the same or different. But I'm going to stick that over to the side, and we're going to move on to the rudder one. Thanks for watching, guys.